Hello, all, and welcome. The Coaching for Transformation podcast is back with a new topic. I'm Dario Minaya, and I'm here with Susan Minaya, Executive Coach, Leadership Strategist, and founder of Minaya Learning Global Solutions. Today, we're beginning a short series called Culture by Design in the Age of AI. This series was inspired in part by a 2026 SHRM Florida Review article titled A Systems Thinking Blueprint for the Future of Culture for Human Work Systems in the Era of AI by Dr. Abram Walton and Dr. Shelley Halstead. Their article got us thinking about what leaders need to pay attention to as AI enters the workplace. And Susan kicks off the topic with a strong one. AI will amplify the culture you already have. Now that sounds practical, but also a little unsettling. Stay tuned to learn more. So, hey Susan, welcome back.
Hi, Dario. Thanks. It's so good to be back. It's been a couple weeks.
It's been a little bit now. So, AI will amplify the culture you already have. What do you mean by that?
Well, it may be unsettling, but I think it is one of the most really important leadership conversations we need to have right now. When organizations talk about AI, the conversation often goes, as you know, immediately to tools, right, Dario? We've been through this road. Governance, productivity, automation, and use cases. And all of that is super important. But AI does not enter a neutral workspace. It enters the culture that's already there. It enters the leadership behaviors, trust levels, communication patterns, decision-making habits, accountability practices, and the way people already experience work. So when I say that AI will amplify the culture you already have, I mean AI is not automatically going to make an organization more innovative, more collaborative, or more accountable, or more effective. If the organization already has clarity and trust, accountability, and maybe learning agility, AI can really help accelerate those strengths. But if the organization has silos, they have low trust, they're really unclear about decision rights, maybe inconsistent leadership behavior, or there's a lot of fear around making mistakes, AI is going to expose those cracks even faster.
So, before leaders ask, what AI tools should we use? They may need to ask, what kind of culture are we introducing these tools into?
Exactly, because right now everybody's all about the tools, right? Everybody's like, what are we going to put in here? But you know what? You can't pile that where it doesn't have a perfect place to land yet. So because if people are already afraid to make mistakes, AI may intensify that fear. If people are already unclear about who gets to make decisions, AI may actually add another layer of confusion, right? Because they're another person inserting an opinion. So if collaboration is already weak, AI may actually become another disconnected tool used differently across the organization.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but the opposite is also true. In a culture where people are very curious, they're very clear on their expectations, and they're willing to learn and willing to collaborate across functions, AI can become a real accelerator. So the first leadership question is not just what can AI do? The deeper question really should be, what kind of culture is AI about to amplify in my organization?
Now, you've used the phrase that AI is a cultural stress test. What do you mean by that?
Well, a stress test puts pressure on a system, right, to see how that system responds. We do it to test the effectivity of it. And AI does that because it forces organization to answer questions that may have been fuzzy before. Who's actually allowed to use it, right? That's one big question. What information can be entered? Who checks the output? Who owns a decision? When is human judgment required? And what should be disclosed? So if these expectations are clear, AI can move through the organization in a very responsible way. But if those expectations are unclear, AI is going to expose the ambiguity.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, AI readiness is not just about whether the technology works, right? It's
Right.
about whether the culture can support the behaviors the technology requires.
Exactly, because AI readiness is not just technical readiness, it is leadership readiness, cultural readiness, change readiness, and learning readiness. All of those things have to be factored in. An organization, certainly, they can buy tools, they can create policies, they can actually form committees and governance. But AI adoption is not just a learning tool. It is learning a new way of working. People have to experiment with it. They have to verify that it works. They have to ask questions, maybe train their AI, disclose when they're using it appropriately. They also have to be confident about how they're protecting confidential information and how they actually apply, get this, judgment to whatever AI is telling them to do. So if curiosity is not supported in an organization or really advocated, people might avoid the tool actually, and they won't adopt it. If reasonable experimentation is not supported, people may freeze or go underground. Like, I'm not even going to address it, right? If transparency is not supported, like, okay, let's just be honest that I'm using it to try to do my work, people might try to hide it. So then we have covert operations going on. And if ethical judgment and accountability are weak in the organization, people may have a tendency to over rely on AI outputs or forget that the human being still actually owns the final decision of what work output comes from AI. So that's why culture matters, Dario. The technology may be available, but the behaviors required to use it responsibly may not actually be supported within the organization.
Well, you also talk about culture as a system, not just a set of values.
Mm-hmm.
So, how should leaders actually look at culture in this kind of a context?
Well, one of the most useful things leaders can do is look at how work actually gets done today. So, culture is not found in the value statement. We've talked about this before. Engagement survey results that we have or town hall messages. Culture actually becomes visible in the work system. So, we look at how an idea moves into execution. So, if we look at it from end to end, where do things stall out? When do handoffs break down in the organization? Where do people actually start doing workarounds because the formal process doesn't actually help them be successful? And what gets escalated? What gets ignored? And where do people stop, wait, or guess to avoid taking action because they don't want to be accountable, right? So those are not just process questions, they're culture questions.
So, you're not saying that this becomes just a huge, giant process mapping exercise. You're saying the process can reveal the culture itself.
That's right, Dario. And the way work moves through an organization tells you something about that culture. So if decisions constantly stall, that may reveal very unclear authority or a lack of trust, right? If handoffs repeatedly break down, that may reveal siloed thinking or maybe weak accountability. And if people create shadow systems or workarounds, that may reveal actually the official system is not supporting performance overall. So AI can help leaders see some of this in two ways. First, it's going to be able to analyze patterns across existing information, employee comments, customer complaints, workflow issues, all that data we can mine from the organization is something AI can really leverage for us and help us. And it can really help surface repeated themes like unclear decision making, delays, workarounds, or places where employees don't feel safe speaking up. So that's where AI is going to be fantastic, right? Second, AI can reveal breakdowns through the way people use it. If one department is using AI openly and responsibly, and another is hiding the use, another is avoiding it completely, and another may be passing it along outputs without actually reviewing whatever AI says, here, do this. That variation tells you something. And it tells you the system does not yet have shared experience across the board.
I gotta say, this sounds like a bigger version of garbage in, garbage out.
Mm-hmm.
If AI is working inside a broken or unclear system, it may produce faster output, but not necessarily better outcome.
That's exactly right, Dario. And I would expand that phrase for the AI era. It's not just the bad data in or bad data out. It's indicative. If we have unclear expectations, then how we have the output's going to be unclear. If our processes are broken, they're going to still be broken, just maybe faster because AI can move faster. So AI works with what the system gives it. So if the data is poor, AI can really generate a very polished answer for poor information. Have you done that before?
Yes,
Have you ever
I have.
I mean, AI is the best at being like so confident with what it
Yeah,
has
it's
to
pretty
say.
confident.
But you better pay attention. So AI does not magically correct the system. It can make the existing system faster and more visible for sure through patterns and what we're seeing. And sometimes it can also make it more risky because we don't really know what people are doing. And that's the transparency piece.
That is a powerful point. I mean, AI can accelerate work, yeah, but it can also accelerate dysfunction, as you mentioned. If leaders do not understand the system that it's entering them.
Right. So before we assume AI will make us faster, we should ask faster through what kind of system? A clear one, a confused one, a collaborative one that's very siloed?
Well, that brings up another important point, right? Since AI can analyze large amounts of information, can AI actually help leaders see some of these cultural breakdowns?
Oh, I think so. If used responsibly, this is where I like the phrase AI plus HI, artificial intelligence plus human intelligence, right? So AI can help leaders identify patterns, and that's what it's so good at that we as humans may not see on our own, right? It can analyze themes across employee engagement comments, maybe stay interviews, exit interviews, all those things that we would think are data rich points that we have within the organization. it can plow through that and give us really great insight. That kind of pattern recognition can be powerful, but AI should not be the judge of culture.
So AI can surface the signal, right? But leaders still have to interpret the meaning.
Exactly. And AI can identify these signals and patterns. Human intelligence is required to really understand what those signals mean. Leaders still need context, judgment, ethics, and courage. They still need to ask, what is the history here? What else do we need to understand? Who needs to be part of the conversation? What our employees really experience? And what are leaders unintentionally reinforcing? And what are we willing to address? So the goal is not to use AI to label the culture or blame people. The goal is to use AI responsibly to improve leadership insights.
Now, that connects to something you've said before. Culture is not built by slogans, it is built through systems.
Yes, culture is not built by declaring our values. It is built by aligning the system around the behaviors those values require. If collaboration is a value, where is collaboration expected? Where is it taught, measured, and reinforced within the organization? If innovation is a value, where do people have permission to experiment responsibly? If accountability is a value, where are leaders consistently addressing behavior and performance gaps? And if inclusion is a value, where are people actually invited into decision making? And in the age of AI, this becomes even more important because AI does not bring human judgment, ethics, transparency, or accountability with it. Those have to come from the people and the culture around the technology. AI can generate information, but people have to question it. AI can summarize the patterns, but people have to interpret them. AI can create options, but people have to decide what's the best approach going forward, what's most ethical, and what's most useful. So AI-enabled work demands curiosity. It also demands critical thinking and good judgment and transparency. All of these competencies, ethical decision-making, adaptability, also cross-functional collaboration, these are behaviors that will not scale unless the cultural system supports them.
So AI adoption has to connect to leadership expectations, not just technical training.
Yes, we cannot train people on tools and ignore the leadership environment those tools are entering. So if leaders want responsible AI adoption, they have to create those conditions for responsible AI adoption.
So we've covered a lot about leadership and AI, right? The impact of leadership with AI and how leadership should be considering and approaching AI. So for a leader listening to this, what are a few questions they should be asking right now?
Well, first, what culture are we about to amplify? Are we amplifying trust and clarity and collaboration and accountability, that great culture we all want? Or are we amplifying a culture of confusion and fear, silos and avoidance? And, there's a lot of chaos in organizations right now with AI in general. So I think we have to take that into consideration. And second, where does our work system reveal cultural friction? Where do decisions get stalled and handoffs break down? So as we look at the end-to-end, they don't know where their accountability or authority lies because they hasn't been made clear to them. And third, how can we use AI plus human intelligence to better understand the truth of our culture? Where can AI help us identify patterns across feedback and work data? And where do human leaders need to interpret those patterns with context, ethics, judgment, and courage? Because AI doesn't have that, right? Because AI adoption is not just a technical learning curve, it's an adaptive leadership challenge.
That's a powerful distinction. AI is not just changing work, it's revealing work. Susan, any final thoughts for leaders?
Yes, well, AI will absolutely shape the future of work. I mean, we see that happening already, but AI alone will not determine whether that future is more human, more innovative, more accountable, or more effective. Leaders are going to be determining that. And AI can help us see the patterns as a partner. It can help us move faster. It can help us identify friction. But human intelligence and judgment and human leadership are still required, even in the age of AI. So before leaders ask only, what can AI do for us? They might need to ask a deeper question of what kind of culture are we about to amplify? And what are we willing to do about it?
That was amazing, Susan. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dario.
To our listeners, if this topic resonates with you, we invite you to reflect on your own organization. Where is AI likely to accelerate your strengths? And where might it expose the cultural gaps that already exist? Thank you for joining us for this episode of Coaching for Transformation. Until next time.